This video is by Carl Jobs, and if you guys don't know about the Completionist donation charity possible scam thing that's going on, it gets pretty deep. Basically, the Completionist has a charity that was set up because his mom passed away from dementia. You know what I mean? She didn't pass away from dementia, but she had dementia, and it was one of the leading causes and stuff like that, and whatever. You know what I mean? It's one of those. What's good, Alexio? How you doing? I can't. My bad, bro. You already know what it is with the dyslexia. It be like that, bro. It be like that. But yeah. So homie over here set up this charity with his family, and apparently people were donating to it the whole time, and they just never donated any of the money to any foundations or anything to help with research for this, like they said they would, even though they had the website and stuff like that. The thing is that what's kind of sketchy was like that they didn't really spend any of the money. All the money has been kind of pretty much accounted for, except for apparently like there was 2 things that they spent on or something like that, but the money was replaced or something along those lines. Okay, the first video is out there for Carl Drops. Obviously, I want you guys to go watch that one, and then you guys can watch this one too as we react and whatever, right? So it's like it's kind of murky right now because all the money is just kind of sitting there, but for like 9 years or something like that. It was like sitting there for like 7 years or something. So it's just like all that time that could have been, the money could have been donated towards research and stuff like that. It just never was done. Unless they like, and some people were alluding to that, like they were trying to make a huge donation all at one time. But like, why would you do that? Because you're scamming the people that donated, thinking that their money's going to something good, to a good cause, even though you aren't spending that money per se on the stuff that's going on. It's just like, it's still pretty bad, right? So now we get into this video that says the open hand charity scam is so much worse. So apparently, like, hopefully it's not
legends. Just over 2 weeks ago, I released a video covering the Open Hand Foundation, the charity organization that was created by the YouTuber The Completionist and his family. I outlined how in 10 years of operation, the Open Hand Foundation has not contributed a single dollar of the money that it has received from the public, despite the fact the Completionist, named Gerard Khalil, has been saying for many years it had been supporting various charities.
And so, we just every year we try to raise as much money as possible, and then we go work with, you know, Alzheimer's Association of America, University of San Francisco, Association for FTD, which is
sorry, it wasn't dementia. My bad. Correction. It was Alzheimer's.
Had FTD. So we've like worked with big and small organizations across the board.
But they're on the same spectrum of what they're
filings,
donating
the Open
towards.
Hand Foundation was sitting on over $650,000 worth of donations it had received. And when me and Mutahar spoke with Gerard, he assured us they still had all of the money and were ready to donate it. However, since that time, nothing has happened. Gerard and the Open Hand Foundation have been radio silent since my video dropped. We have had no confirmation the money still exists, no confirmation it has been donated, and it more or less seems like they are burying their head in the sand and ignoring the situation, hoping it blows over. The silence is deafening, but I think there is a very good reason why they are hiding. There is more to this story than meets the eye, and the situation is much worse than we had previously let on. In my previous video, I spoke about Indieland, the charity marathon hosted by the Completionist. But Indieland isn't the only charity event that Open Hand runs. In fact, it's only half of the story. Open Hand also holds a charity golf tournament, which pulls in tens of thousands of dollars in sponsorships every year. And the interesting thing about the money the golf tournament raises is that it seems to disappear. Fans of the Completionist who rushed out to defend him tried to claim that because Gerard hadn't spent the money, it wasn't stolen. But in my opinion, this is misguided. Not only because this argument is nonsensical, I mean, if I steal $100 from you and don't spend it, I've still stolen it. It's money you no longer have, and I obtained that money through illegal means. But
I agree with that. You see what I'm saying? Like True Live says in chat that unless I'm talking to them directly, or to the organization, he's not going to donate. See, I even ran a donation stream back in the day, around like the first year that I was streaming type of thing. for BLM actually, kind of thing, but not for the BLM organization. Like, it was something to do with all the stuff that was going on or whatever. So even me, like, I actually took, like, it was like 2 weeks before I donated all the money that was raised. But through that time, I was letting everyone know step by step what was going on. And we went through all the charities that we wanted to donate to, like actually vetted organizations and stuff like that. But the difference is I let everybody know that. I let everybody know that from the day one, that we weren't going to be just like donating it off the rip that same night to an organization. Like, because you even see what happened to a lot of these organizations and stuff like that. They get called out for not being what they are. So we donate to stuff like the Walnut Foundation, and that helps with like cancer research, like prostate cancer research within like mostly like they make sure like the money goes into like a lot of like minorities as well, because so they can help treat minorities and help get people a lot of like screenings, radiation, and then chemos and stuff like that, pay for those kind of things, pay for medicine and stuff like that. And they actually do that, and actually that charity actually hits home to me harder than a lot of people know, kind of thing, just being candid or whatever. So that was definitely one of the reasons why we wanted to go there. We also did it for breast cancer awareness and stuff like that within minority communities and stuff like that. As I said, it was a BLM one, and it was just like within minority communities, we wanted more doulas, more midwives, all kinds of stuff when it comes to medical practices and everything like that. We donated to those charities, and then I even gave like from the slips to everything, from the emails, everything like that. I showed everybody everything, copied them, put them in Discord, put them all over the place, sent emails out to people who asked for things directly or whatever, and receipts and all this kind of stuff. So it's just like there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it, that if you're having the money in retainer, you have to make sure obviously every single dollar is accounted for and spent. But it's pretty easy when you donate like on live, and mans can see the count up, and then you just go through the, like, each one gets 100, each one got like 150, 200 or whatever, depending on how, like the cancer research ones, I think we did like 250 each on those ones. So it's just like, it's one of those. And I even donated some of my own money in there too. So there you go. Like, there's a way to do it. But
aside
like,
from
I
that,
don't know, bro.
I do
A lot
believe
of
the
these
Khalil
mans, I don't know
family
if they're-
have been stealing tens of thousands of dollars
I don't know if
each
they're
year
on it
from
like that,
charity
you feel me?
donations, on top of the fraud committed through Indieland. And in this video, I'm going to show you how. In my previous video, I didn't include a sponsor because this is a serious situation, and that was a hefty sacrifice given that I am the sole breadwinner of my family. So it's not just my money I sacrificed, it's theirs as well. And I can't keep working on this without being sponsored, so I hope you guys don't mind.
Make your bread,
Now,
gang.
legends, this video is sponsored by the military online game War
Now
Thunder.
let me tell you something though about you making your bread. You can make your bread, but I'm not gonna make your bread for you like that, because we ain't watching that at my boy. I'm sorry. Like, I know everybody skips sponsors. You know what I mean? I bought 1,000.
By the Completionist began in
least I'm gonna like-
2018, but since
I'll drop a
2003,
comment.
the Khalil family
Carl's
has
cool.
been
I'll give
hosting
him
a
a
yearly
subscribe.
golf tournament called the PBD West Convenience Cup Challenge. PBD West is a business founded by Gerard's father, Charles Khalil, in
I think I'm subbed to
1992.
him on my
Now,
other
despite the Open Hand Foundation website saying it has been fundraising since 2003, there is no record of the Open Hand Foundation existing before 2014, when it was registered as a
What do we call
non-profit.
that?
If you look at photos from the golf tournament before this time, there is no mention of Open Hand. In contrast to 2015 onwards, where signage clearly states it's benefiting the Open Hand Foundation, earlier years simply showed that it was benefiting frontotemporal dementia. I assume they meant to say they were benefiting dementia research and not dementia itself, as that is quite a strange thing to
Yeah,
say.
that'd be
No one
strange.
can possibly know where that money went from these golf tournaments before 2014.
They got
So at
the
this time,
monster
there is
girls
no
out
point
there?
in
That's crazy.
speculating. But from 2015, we know the money was supposed to be going to the Open Hand Foundation, and we have their tax filings, so from here on out, we can begin to be going to no point in
This was a golf tournament?
and Foundation, and we have their tax filings, so from here on out we can begin to draw some solid conclusions. The main way the PBD West Convenience Cup Challenge appears to raise money is via sponsorships. Brands will pay the Open Hand Foundation to appear on banners and signs throughout the golf course, along with having the opportunity to set up tents and stands and have their employees play in the tournament. It seems to be mainly used as a
Okay.
networking or social event.
Understood
On its
why the
website,
Monster Girls
the
are there
PBD
now.
West Cup
Like,
even
huh?
tells us what these sponsorships cost. showing that different tiers give different benefits. Before 2018, this Golf Cup was the only event raising money for the Open Hand Foundation, so the tax filings should give us a pretty good idea about how much money it brings in. From 2014 to 2017, filings showed the Open Hand Foundation received between $30,000 to $60,000 per event.
Wait, this is before
likely
Indieland shit.
underreported, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's just assume this is accurate. From these years, we can get a pretty good approximation of what this cup normally raises. In 2018, Indieland began, and for its first year, it raised $55,000, at least according to Gerard. This money was also supposed to go to the Open Hand Foundation, so naturally we should see an increase in yearly revenue, which we do. In 2018, Open Hand had a yearly revenue of $113,000. If we assume that $55,000 came from Indieland, that leaves $58,000 from the PBD West Cup, which is in line with previous years. However, something strange happens in 2019. In 2019, Indieland raised $109,000, double the previous year. In theory, this should cause a drastic rise in the yearly revenue for the Open Hand Foundation. But mysteriously, revenue hardly raises at all. In the 2019 filing, Open Hand only raised $123,000, which means that somehow the Golf Cup now only raised $14,000. What's also interesting about 2019 is that it's the last year that Indieland, or the Completionist, publicly stated what Indieland had raised in total. From this point on, they make no mention of this, which is strange. You would think a charity event would state how much they raised after it had finished, and they did proudly do this for the first 2 years. But then, as soon as the tax filings became...
But like, but like in 2019, a golf tournament raising 14K, I think that might make sense due to what was going on in 2019. No? Because it was like March that it hit, and then everything like, and you play golf in the summer. So was it like you know what I mean? Was it a space one? Like, I don't want to say the word here because YouTube gets weird with it, but it's just like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. True says, see, that's the direct to organization, but things like your local grocery store, I don't know how that works overseas, but U.S. corporations donate before the campaign and then put it in shops asking the people to donate. It keeps all the money. Really? I never knew that's what they were doing on that. That's crazy. Mad shady, because if they make more than they donate, they profit like crazy. That's insane. But yeah, sorry. I'm pausing because we were reacting. We were really reacting.
They did proudly do this for the first 2 years. But then, as soon as the tax filings became weird, we started hearing nothing. We can deduce how much money was raised, however. From 2020 onwards, Indieland fundraised through Tiltify, which shows the total donation amount. On top of this, all bits, subs, merchandise, and indie game sales were supposed to go to Open Hand too.
And that's why we're here today. Bits, donations, subs, buy the shirt, buy the coin, buy indie games, all that stuff. All of it is going to the benefit of helping others for this charity event. So thank you for joining us.
As I just mentioned, Gerard never tells us what these extra revenue sources amount to, but we do get a clue from Indieland lead coordinator Michael Barrett. He refers to an article talking about Indieland 2022, which raised $90,000 via direct donations through Tiltify. The article author uses a different Tiltify figure to state that Indieland raised $80,000, but Michael clarifies that with those other methods of raising money, they actually raised over $100,000. So at minimum, we can add at least $10,000 on top of whatever is raised through Tiltify. However, again, I suspect this figure is likely higher, which is why they don't specify what it is. Now let's look at 2021. Indieland raised $113,000 in direct donations. Then we take off around $2,000 for Tiltify fees. On top of this, every single year the Syzygy Foundation, the charity founded by Jamie Lee Curtis, gives a grant to Open Hand. In 2021, they gave them $25,000. If you add these together, you get around $136,000. But shockingly, for the entire year of 2021, Open Hand only received $136,000, which means again, the Golf Cup hardly raised anything at all. But we know that's not the case, because we have photos of every single year the Golf Cup has been running since 2014, and we know how many sponsors they have and what they paid. And not only that, this means all the bits, subs, and all of that extra revenue that Gerard promised us would go to Openhand wasn't sent over either. Now in
Things
this
are
video,
getting
I'm just focusing on the
sticky.
golf tournament, and I won't go into all of the ways the Completionist and his family seem to be stealing donations, but I suggest you keep a lookout for an update video by some ordinary gamers, who will release even more information on that very soon. So let's look at the 2021 Golf Cup sponsors. It's had 2 diamond sponsors, which were $8,000 each, 1 platinum sponsor, which is $7,500, and 6 gold sponsors, which are $6,500 each. Just from those 3 tiers alone, ignoring all of the other sponsors, all of the other registration fees, all of the other money raised from the raffle and auctions, and ignoring any direct donations which should be received during a charity
Bruh.
event, we already have a total of more than $60,000, and all of that money seems to have vanished. It certainly didn't go to Openhand, or at the very least, for some reason, isn't showing up on their filings. All of the filings from 2019 onwards show the same pattern. Almost all of the revenue raised can be attributed to Indieland, and hardly anything seems to come from the Golf Cup, despite photos clearly showing it has massive sponsors paying up to $10,000 each. Certainly, tens of thousands of dollars at least in donations every single year are going missing. The question is how and where. Everything raised from Indieland is through electronic means. This makes it very hard to hide, and any accountant will immediately pick up a discrepancy between what the bank statements show and what they are filing with the IRS. But the revenue generated from the Golf Cup is different. The website has a page called Where to Send Payment, and it literally just tells you to write a check to the Openhand Foundation. No matter what account the money is going to, however, we know it isn't going to Openhand. In my previous video, I was very careful not to make claims I couldn't prove. I wanted to make sure that when bringing up this sensitive subject, I didn't come across too aggressive, in order to limit the amount of backlash. But I think at this point, I've uncovered enough to confidently say that something very criminal is happening with the Openhand Foundation. We have the Completionist and the Openhand website lying for years that the Foundation has been supporting organizations when it has never supported a single organization the entire time it's existed. We have more than $650,000 sitting in an account somewhere that still hasn't been donated or accounted for. And we have hundreds of thousands of dollars from the golf tournament that has simply vanished into thin air.
Bro is messing around with Pepsi, Monster, Coca-Cola. Like, bro, these are some deep brands. Like, these are some deep brands to be playing with their money, fam. Especially when their money is going to charity. They're not playing around with that at all, because that's their front face money. That's their marketing money. Like, those donations are getting written off the books. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're just getting, like, it's just a write-off for the company itself, for the corporations. Like, that's why, okay, Monster's owned by Coca-Cola, but then you see Coca-Cola there and you see Monster there separately. You know what I mean? That's why you get stuff like that. Like, that's kind of insane, bro.
And this is why I think the Completionist and the Openhand Foundation have been completely silent. Anything they say at this point is probably going to be used against them, simply because the truth is looking really, really bad. Almost everyone is screaming at them just to donate the money, which should be pretty easy to do.
It doesn't make sense. Why not just, okay, the jig is up, just donate it. If you supposedly still have the money, just donate it. What's the excuse for not donating it yet?
But they don't want any more attention being drawn to this. They hope people at worst will think that Indieland raised some money and didn't donate it for a few years. They can live with that. What they don't want is people, especially the authorities, looking into the golf tournament and all of that sponsorship money. I've heard many people say this could just be negligence or ignorance or laziness, but I can assure you this is not the case. This fraudulent activity has been going on for at least 10 years, and it's not just Indieland. Both events were lying and saying they were contributing funds when they weren't. The Golf Cup was taking in donations without contributing any of the money it raised long before Indieland even started. And when Indieland came along, it did the exact same thing. This doesn't happen accidentally. This absolutely needs to be investigated by the authorities. And the only way that happens is if the Open Hand Foundation is reported. I'm going to put a link to where you can raise a complaint in the description. And I hope
Bro's
that many
asking
of
the
you
man
consider
to
taking a couple of
snitch.
minutes to do so. It's obvious Open Hand isn't in a rush to respond or donate the money, so at this point, all we can do is wait for those with power to step in.
He's putting the
Also, once
pressure
again,
on
use my-
him. He's putting the pressure on him. Not the link to snitch. That's crazy. And they wouldn't want people looking into the tournament same way they wouldn't want people looking into the indie land stuff, because eventually the indie land stuff took over and you could see that digitally. But if you could hide more and more money from the golf tournament, like it seems allegedly that they're doing, you see what I'm saying? Like you could hide 30K. You could hide a 40K type thing. It's difficult, but if you could fudge numbers enough, you could do it. Because you're still a charity and you're still accounting for certain things. But then maybe there's some back end stuff going on. Maybe somebody's getting cut a check every single time. Like, how does the money that was being raised 30 to 40K every single year start dipping to 12 when you have the same sponsors, and you know that even all gold sponsors cost 7K a piece and you have at least 10? Like, if you have 10 at 7, like, come on, bruh. How did you only make $13,000? You feel me? Like, that gets a little sticky. That starts getting a little crazy right there. Damn. God damn. That's a little much. That's a little crazy stuff. I'm not gonna hold you. But yeah, that's what we wanted to react to. That's what we wanted to react to at that time. You feel me?